one person recount his understanding of the next plane of existence from visions he had? Of course you do. Welcome to Northern Vibe. I'm Matt Maloney. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stephen Chong, my guest, fell off the ladder and was seriously injured. And during his rehabilitation, he had what I suppose you could call a series of visions, which he wrote down, and these visions were subsequently published, both here in Australia and overseas in America. Now, Stephen holds that these were actual revelations about the nature of the next world. He claims he witnessed the journey of the soul through the nether regions. It's very much like a modern-day Dante's Divine Comedy. His experience was a strange one, but he doesn't claim it was a near-death experience in the truest sense of the phrase. There were no tunnels of light, nor does he claim to be a medium. So while there is a real supernatural aspect to what happened, he's not claiming any special powers or insights. But he says that he didn't create this experience, or at least that's how it felt to him. He's just outlining something that he experienced rather than created. It's a really interesting story. It's a fantastic interview, and I really enjoyed chatting to Stephen. Now, it gave him some insights into the nature of hell, the function of forgiveness, some of the moral laws that rule our planes of existence. This was a real journey to eternity, and that's what I've called this one. So without further ado, let's hear from Stephen.
What happened was, being so remote up here in Coranda, and as you do when you're old and think you're bulletproof, I was up cleaning out the gutters.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 meters, nothing insignificant, and I fell off and fractured my neck. But it happened to be a Saturday morning, and normally my wife is out doing whatever she's doing, but this morning, she just happened to be here. And we're so remote, so there's nobody else around. Nobody would have heard me scream. Just happened to be coin of phrase, but here I stand. Survive the exercise, and there was no. At the point that I'm on the ground and I can't feel anything, I'm thinking,
this is not good.
Not good. But the revelations that occurred did not occur at that time. When I was in rehabilitation, I'm on the couch, good for nothing, can't really move very far, and that's when I had the title of the book in my head, and just by way of background, I'd shut down. In the writing process, I said, "Look, I'm done. It's lovely to write. It's all very nice, but it's hard work. I'm done. I want to start planting tomatoes in the garden." But this experience for tomatoes in the garden was like a pivot point, a turning point that said the universe is saying, Stephen, you've got more to do. And I'm on the couch and I've got this title in my head, and I'm kind of going, I'm going, leave me alone. I'm done.
Yeah.
Because I've shut down. But tap, 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 tap. Oh, far out. Okay, I'm in. I'll write this thing, whatever it is. And this title, I knew the title, and I've said kind of to the universe, the afterlife, what do I know? I don't know.
Mm.
So if you want me to write this thing, you have to tell me, show me, whatever it is. So what happens subsequent to that, I'm a very disciplined writer, so I've sat and I've fingers on the keyboard. That's as soon as I did that, I started. Again, there's no storyboard, there's no character. I had nothing. But then I started to see the things that we talk about later and hear the music and the colours. And it was like, far out. and I'm basically taking dictation.
Okay, so this is post-event. I just want to get this straight in my head for the listeners.
Yep.
This is post-event. So you've had this event, you've healed, and you've had this desire to write that was inspired by what you went through, but it wasn't like you were in an unconscious state or anything like when all these things happened. These are revelations that came to you post-event.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And you know,
Okay, well, would you mind telling us, the things that you saw and experienced?
oh my goodness, yeah, absolutely. Where do I start? So the remember, and it's first person narrative, this book. So I'm seeing through this character's eyes. So, and it was like a being taken up through the different levels of heaven, of the afterlife. And it was like a scenic railway tour. So I'm just seeing through this character's eyes what he's showing me, and then writing as to the best of my ability what I'm seeing. There we go. But what I saw, the things that I saw, the colours, the music, the dialogue was just all there, and it poured out within. I had the book written within 4 weeks. Every time and I never knew, like I'd sit and write a little bit, and I'd go, you look back over the writing and go, God, what did that from? And then, you'd put it aside and come back in another day or so, and then the next part would be there, and the next part would just unfold. So I had no idea where it was going. So it was a most beautiful experience, and one that a gift that I'm, so glad to have received.
So the experience was the writing again. Like it wasn't like you're unconscious, like most near-death or death experiences where unconscious, tunnel of light, all that kind of stuff, seeing ancestors. Your experience was like getting this intuition, getting this strong desire, getting in tune, I suppose.
Yeah.
And the experience was the writing, correct?
That's absolutely correct, Matt. People have asked me whether were you a medium or something, and it doesn't sit comfortably with me. It was like tuning a radio dial to a frequency, and what I had to do was trust absolutely that it was going to come. The next part would come, so every time I sat, the next part was revealed. So there was an ultimate trust there from a writing point of view, but it was really quite frankly, a listening process. I didn't think of anything. It was just as soon as I sat, saw the colours, heard the music, the dialogue. I wrote as best I could what I saw.
Okay. All right. So my understanding is you saw something like purgatory. Would you mind discussing that?
Yeah. Let me give you a background to the story.
Absolutely.
So your listeners,
all the contextual kind of stuff there. Yeah.
The main character was, and again, I'm seeing through this character's eyes, and writing what he's feeling and telling me. And in life, as a young man, he was abused under the auspices of the clergy. And subsequently, later in life, he took his own life. So the story is him. He's stuck in this purgatory. I saw them as mists, these grey mists, and he's captured in this decrepit house, dirt, dust, and filthy. And he couldn't see, by virtue of the hurt and the shame and the guilt and the anger that he felt, he was stuck in these mists, this purgatory. And he couldn't see the way out. There was a light there, but he couldn't see it by virtue of these things that he was enduring. It wasn't until such time as he met up with the Bishop of the See, under whose insouciance he was abused. And through their relationship, they were able to forgive one another. And that forgiveness was the key to release this character from these mists, from this purgatory. And then once he sort of come out of these mists, we got taken on this journey up through the different levels of heaven. Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty much it. I couldn't make this up in a million years.
Okay, no worries.
That's exactly what I saw.
So again, so you felt that the way you experienced this was, rather than something that you're creating, was rather something that you're experiencing.
It was like being in your shoes, Matt. Absolutely. I could I was seeing through his eyes, writing what he's telling me, hearing the music and seeing the colours that were all around. Yeah, I was looking through his eyes, and he's taking me wherever he wanted
So
to
you've
take me.
mentioned these regions. Would you mind discussing them?
Oh my goodness! Let me give you again a descriptor. When this character, Athar is his name, he's come through these mists of purgatory, and in this purgatory is where one does this life review, which you've probably heard of, and it's where you confront yourself. So it's a mirror of reflection of what you have done to in life, or what you've done to others that causes where you go in the heavenly realms. It's like the old the law. What you reap, what you sow, so shall you reap. What you cause to affect in others, it declares your place in heaven. So he's come out of these mists, and one of the first places, and there were many that he took me to, was this huge Colosseum. If you can imagine, like the Roman Colosseum, and like we approach this Colosseum, and I'm with a guide. There's like a master guide with me, and in this Colosseum are all these souls. Like that, it's full of all these souls in beautiful colours and robes, and of all. Think of the 7 colours of the rainbow multiplied by 100, and the colours were that majestic. And in this auditorium, they are chanting the Om sound. So this Om sound is going around this arena. And in the middle of the arena are these repose lounge, these lounge chairs. Like I'm watching this, and what the? And into the arena come these seraphim, beautiful angelic beings, and they're charged with a soul that's like got great melodies, illnesses, and they're deformed. And these seraph take each of their charges and place the soul on these lounge chairs, and the lounge chairs kind of enfold them like a warm blanket in the cold. And into this arena walked this angelic being, beautiful white golden robes, and he stands in the middle of the arena and puts his hands up, and he takes the energy from the crowd, from the souls in this crowd, and he weaves it into a magnetic ball, which is and he's like a spinning magnetic ball. And then from this ball shoots these laser lights into the souls on these lounge chairs. And after he's done that, the angel sort of folds the magnetic coral back, and then he goes out. And then from that, these what were before decrepit souls and malformed, they're totally renewed. They are, like whole and hale and totally renewed as a consequence of what they've received. So I said, like, I'm sitting next to this guide, and I go, what has just happened? And what I was told was that souls, when they enter heaven, that have had maladies or sicknesses imposed on them by others, are relieved of those burdens. So if let's say I do something bad to you, or let me say I make something up. I give you a bad drug that causes you a deformity or a malady or a great sickness. You do not bear the consequences of that event in heaven. You are relieved of those burdens. Me, on the other hand, because I've caused that to you, I've done that to you, I would bear the consequences of those actions. But so,
so like if you punch someone in the face, you get the punch in the face hits you.
That's right. Yes.
Gotcha.
What fundamentally you do to another, you do to yourself, because we are all one in spirit. Yes, that's exactly a good way to describe it. So what I cause to affect in you, you don't bear the consequences of that, but me, on the other hand, have to, face the consequences of those actions.
So this karmic kind of law is a law of heaven and earth. So you're explaining it, so I'm understanding it. Obviously, correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
More examples?
Say that again.
Sorry, this karmic rule is like a law.
A law.
Can you give me some more examples of these laws of heaven and earth?
Oh, I will, mate. But let me give you a background to this. So it's really interesting, because I've written the book, and as you do, I mean, I said about 4 weeks it took me, and then like any good author, you edit and you read it. I've read it 100 times, and about 3 or 4 months after the book is finished, it was like that. The voices in your head going, "Stephen, you missed something. You've missed something. Read it again." I've only read it 100 times, edited it. Okay, so I've read the book again, and then I found them embedded in the text were these laws, and I've called them the laws of heaven and earth. And I found 15 of them. And let me give you, I won't read them all, but let me give you a couple. Here we go. What you have cause to affect in your fellow man is what declares your place in heaven. It's not bad. Here's the one we're talking about. Sins in heaven imposed by others are not those that need to be borne by the self. Here's an interesting one. In heaven, the emperor wears no clothes. What I understand from that one is when we're in this life review process, it doesn't matter whether you're king, prince, or pauper. You're
stripped naked.
No clothes. You're stripped naked. And what you've done to others is what you need to bear the consequences of.
Yeah. So, there's no hiding behind.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to.
There's no covering your nakedness, be it physical, moral, or spiritual.
Absolutely correct. Yeah. So I mean, there's 3 or 4 of them, but I can give you 1 or 2 more. Let's see. In your life review, all shall be revealed. No thought or action insignificant. All remembered to record. If that doesn't scare one.
It's both reassuring and scary at the same time.
Scary at the same time, isn't it? And I've got one of the places I got taken to, Matt, was, and if you could imagine the buildings, with like nothing I've ever seen on earth. These are Greco-Roman type of architecture, marble, alabaster, magnificence. And again, it's always with a guide, never alone. Taken into this great, huge library. There are tomes and books and students everywhere, and it was the Hall of Records. And I understand, it was there that one could access the records of your life, but also past, future, and present laws and information and knowledge. All knowledge was kind of in this huge library.
I got to say, very Dante Alighieri.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
I'm feeling Dante all the way through this.
I've never read the man, but people have told me that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have, and look, he was lucky to have Aeneas as a guide. That was kind of like, I mean, man, if you're going to be God, anyway, let it be Aeneas. One of the greatest writers of.
Yeah. Oh, there were one of the other places, Matt, I got taken to. I've called them the nether region, and if you can imagine walking through like a place where a bushfire has been, burnt ash and the smell, the acrid smell in your nose, and I can still smell it. And so we're walking through this area and in through this huge portal. And inside the portal is these spinning vortices. And there was, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them. And it's like, I'm going. And it was a horrible place. And standing around these huge spinning vortices were these angels in waiting, beautiful angelic beings, and this sort of waiting there. And so I've turned to this guide and gone, like, what is this? And what was described to me is these vortices entrapped, and there were souls in these, trapped in each vortex. I go, like, what the? And what I was told is this is not hell. This is not God's judgment for being a bad dude. People are entrapped there by choice. So this is like the 7 deadly sins: lust, greed, envy, sloth. What are the other ones? I can't remember. But the souls are trapped in there by their own choice. So what I saw was like their soul trying to clamber out, and they were being pulled back by these other souls trapped in these vortices. But when a soul is able to, like the word, repent, to let go of this errant choice that they've made, the power of this choice that traps them within, the angels can then take them away and soothe their needs or take them to other parts of heaven. I don't know, but that's what I saw.
It's very interesting because, like, I've got a lot of materialist atheist friends. I'm not an atheist, and I often get the sneering condescension in regards to the nature of hell. Well, no loving created God would create hell and like a place that you get sent for being on the wrong belief team. Completely and utterly misunderstood the nature of hell.
Yes.
It's not a place where you go for that a vengeful God sends you for being in the wrong belief team. That's
absolutely.
That's not even in any mainstream Christian thought, really. I mean, that's how it's often represented by, well, some, especially, your evangelicals, God bless them. But like, this scary kind of place. And even Bishop Sheenan used to kind of like go into the dark side of things a bit.
Yeah.
Or just as a warning, as like, you don't want to go there kind of stuff. In so much as like, if you see someone suffering on the street and go, well, like if you see a drug addict suffering on the street, go, do you want that? No, don't take drugs. So,
that sort of
that
thing.
was the thing. But the nature of it was this, like, people put themselves into hell because they disassociate themselves from the ultimate love and the creator and their ultimate will. And the suffering of hell, the fires of hell, as we understand them symbolically, that's actually God's love. It's like, because when you've stuffed something up and you've done something really wrong and really, really dumb. So, you've created it. Say you started taking drugs and you ended up an addict, or you were in a really good relationship and you committed an act of adultery, or, something like this, and you stuffed it up. What burns you is your conscience, which is love and goodness. That's burning you. So that's why we have this metaphor for the fires of hell. Again, it's not hot place where you get poked in the ass by guys with pitchforks.
Absolutely.
It's not the way it works. It's like,
no, you've got it right. And what I understand from these vortices is that it's not God's judgment, not God's wrath. There was no sense of any of God. God's just gave love, so there was no wrath involved.
You decided to disassociate yourself from Him. He respects it as much as it pains Him. He respects your free will, because free will is paramount. If you decide to, however, for whatever it is, consciously or unconsciously, to disassociate yourself from God, it pains Him, but He will go, so be it, my child. Like, no loving parent would force their love on someone. That's not actually, and really, when it comes to it, this is a really deep discussion because, you know, you're discussing the nature of love. Ultimately, what this is, a discussion about hell, strangely, is a discussion of the nature of love.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And it's funny how people don't understand that. I mean, to someone who's even, you know, basically has a basic religious framework, especially Judeo-Christian, I would say. So especially, I got to say, like being a Catholic, you know, so you're Catholic or you're Orthodox. You know, I know the local Orthodox priest. He's, you know, we discussed this a little bit, and it's so much. I mean, it's the same. We're on the same team.
Yeah.
Well,
the interesting thing is, Matt, in seeing that though, and what I understand, again, the power of these vortices are a choice. You know, the soul's entrapped by choice, but it's a state of purification. So the soul gets purified in that state, and when they say sorry and they repent, I'm out of here. I want, you know, I want to move out. Then, you know, these angelic beings took them away and dispensed the love of the Father.
But just had to stop there for 1 second because I'm getting some great comments. Jabiru, fantastic to hear from you. Please keep up the comments. Really, really interested in getting your perspective on this fantastic issue. Company. Evil wants to justify itself by... No, it is true. Like,
it's true, absolutely.
Evil wants to justify itself by saying, hey, look, there's all of us doing this. You know, maybe this, what you call good is actually the evil, and maybe things are actually upside down. And we can justify it. I can justify what I've done by going, oh, other people did it. Or like, maybe, you know, really quickly, I was having this discussion with a guy in the watch house. And this goes back many, many years ago. And this chap was a murderer. He killed someone. I was having a discussion with him, and he was kind of like, because they want to talk, like, you know, these people in those positions, they want to talk to someone, they want to justify someone, they want to have these moral discussions, they want to justify themselves. And he's like, you know, this guy kind of deserved it, and, you know, I didn't really mean it anyway, like it wasn't a murder in the true sense of the word, I didn't have the intent what happened in this act of violence. He's a bit of a shitbag, the world's a better place, so all this, you know, rationalization, justification, and anyway, at least I'm not a pet. And so, like, I had this discussion with him, and a couple of cells up, there was a ped. So I'm sitting there discussing this, and I know, you know, with this ped, and I hadn't arrested this ped because I used to be in plain clothes. I did some child sex abuse stuff. So I'm with this ped, and he's like going through. He goes, "Well, you know, Matt, you don't know what it's like." And he explained things, and there's a very common theme when you speak, you know, when you speak to a lot of peds. It's like they kind of wanted it. They actually kind of like I was seduced. No, seriously, like I'm not making this up. Like,
True.
You know, I've heard this trope on more than one occasion from more than one source, and it's like blah blah blah. So, and he goes, and at least I'm not a murderer. But what they were doing, you're totally right. Like the symbolism of what you saw is correct. These guys are pulling each other down because they all want company in hell. Like they all
there you go.
Loathe each other. The funny thing is, they all despise each other. They all hate each other. The only thing they're united by, really, is fear, sadness, hate, you know, bitterness, resentment of God, like all of these things. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
It's totally that's such a symbolic insight that you had is, I must say, in line with my experience and my understanding of the nature of evil and hell.
Oh, very interesting, isn't it? Yeah, but then isn't it so that law we talked about, the emperor wears no clothes, covers that. So when you're faced with a mirror of reflection, you're stripped of all of that, you know, those false beliefs or whatever you want to call them.
It's like, you know, okay, I know how you saw yourself, and I know this is how you rationalize things, but no, this is how it was, and incidentally, this is how, because that's what the mirror is. The mirror is the human. So this is how, okay, now I know you experience things and you perceive things from this way, but when you look in a mirror, you're perceiving yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, right. But you're perceiving everybody else as well. You're perceiving humanity. It's like, well, that other person that you did this thing to, this is how they perceived it.
Yeah.
You're actually looking in a mirror, and that's why symbolically, you know, vampires can't look at themselves in the mirror.
There you go.
Yeah, the trope. I mean, yeah, the trope that is because they can't bear to see themselves. They can't, you know, they see the face of evil. They look in a mirror and they see the face of evil. They can't,
There
they
you go.
can't look at themselves like there's nothing. And you see that, and, you know, and what Wilde used that in Dorian Gray.
Yes.
That's the
He
same
did.
trope in Dorian
Yeah,
Gray.
yeah.
It's such a powerful archetype and a powerful symbol.
Isn't that right, Matt? Yeah, it is. And the knowledge itself is so powerful. If you imbue that law into your psyche, it turns. If that doesn't turn one from errant path, I don't know what will. To know that you'd be stuck in this hell,
Yeah.
you know, this power, must turn you from you know, doing not so good things. You would think.
Well, see, it comes down to this. I mean, well, it doesn't come down to this. When I'm discussing this with atheist materialists, and I have a lot of atheist materialist friends, actually just had one stay a couple of nights ago. The guy's he's like the president or the vice president or something in the Reason Society. Nice chap, but he's very dismissive of you know, any of this stuff. He's just, but it always ends up. He's actually he's not a moral person, because morals are, you know, when you're comparing yourself to something external. He's a very ethical person. But when we can't help but having this discussion in the moral plane, I to him, well, you know, what is this good that you're talking about? What is it, just a consensus of human beings? Yeah, you know, rational human beings will come to this consensus. I said, no, they won't. Like, right now we're living in a society that doesn't know what a woman is.
Yes.
And serious steps towards normalizing pedophilia. And, you know, if you don't see that, you're just blind.
Yeah.
If you don't see, you know, a bunch of, like, and I'm just going to come out and say this, and I don't care what trouble I get in. If you don't see that the state paying for a bunch of sexually deviant guys dressed as women going down to a library and reading, getting access to children, something sinister, and as a normalization of the sexualization of children, and therefore like pedophilia, you're blind. You're just blind. And I know some people like that. Like, you know, I had a conversation just last week with this guy's come up. He didn't really know me. He just, like, in the context that we're at, without going into details, he assumed I would be a certain mindset. And these people that are against drag queen story, how they think they're all peds and they're trying to sexualize children. Those simpletons who are going to, you know, when are they going to reach the lofty enlightenment and, you know, the lofty planes of enlightenment and the degree of understanding that we, you know, that people like me have? That's just not true. And I'm just like sitting there shaking my head.
Yeah.
Why would you? But like,
yeah. Matt, let me give you a description as best I can of what you're talking about, because that was
that you saw. So this is
that I saw. This is what I saw in the book.
Please go on. Yeah.
So, Athar, the main character, we're probably 3/4 of the way book, and a long way. He's evolving up through the levels of heaven. So we've seen a lot before we've got to this stage, but he's got to a place where he's kind of been repressing something, and he talks to his guide there, and the guide says, "There's some place you've got to go to evolve further." And Athar knew what it was. He had to confront the priest who abused him, because that priest had obviously died and come up to the heavenly realms. So we go down this black tunnel, slime, screams, awful place. And so he's venturing down this tunnel, and he wavers because it's so bad, so decrepit, and so ugly but the guy that was with him says, let's keep going. So we reach this black space, and there's this I heard this piercing scream. I go, oh fuck, I can even hear it now. And who was in this space was the priest that had abused Athar. And what this priest had done was create this, because he was totally afraid of being condemned by the people that he had abused. So he'd created around him this like a fearful, terrible place that you couldn't get to because he felt safe. But Athar, the character, was, because of the beauty of his soul, he was able to forgive him. And the forgiveness was the key that unlocked this priest from the hell that he had created for himself. And he was taken out from this terrible place that he had caused for himself, that created the barrier between him and others that he thought were going to do him harm.
But really, that's the same thing as being stripped naked, though. Really,
same thing. Yeah. Yes. That's one of the places. That's where I was taken to.
Yeah, and the other, because again, being stripped naked isn't all bad. You know, sometimes the delusions you hold about yourself, ones of negativity, that you know you're a bad person. And that's how evil propagates. That's how it gets a toehold. It's like you start to define yourself. So you lie once and you think to yourself, well, I'm a liar. Yeah. And we see that in cancel culture today. It's like, you know, you say one stupid thing, someone says something that isn't even racist, but some, you know, might be, you know, oh, you're racist. That defines you. That defines the community. In fact, it defines the nation.
Yeah.
The fact that Americans had slaves and had to fight a war and shed blood to do it somehow still defines them, you know, 160 years or whatever it is after the end of that. This idea of self-definition and allowing that self-definition to be, allowing other people to project that, allowing other people to project, to define you by their projection.
Yes.
Again, but that's stripping away. And the nature of forgiveness there. So that's something I find really interesting about these insights that you have. Because not only did it free him, but it freed Athar as well.
That's exactly what it is. And it brings, and one of the, there was another law, Matt, I'll read it to you. Forgiveness is at the heart of your ultimate realization.
Yeah, of course.
There you go. So, and that's what happened to this character. He was able to forgive this priest that had done him harm, and that released, obviously, the priest from his state of malignancy, I guess. And then he would, Athar, from having done that, got taken up to these really higher realms, which was, it's another story. But that's that forgiveness he was able to offer that person that had done him harm was the key to his own evolution.
Well, we'll talk about those. I want you to go, should you be so inclined, obviously. I'd like you to discuss those further realms. But no, that's when, before C.S. Lewis, who, you know, is, and we know now, is one of the greatest Christian apologists of last century, converted. He was in the Inklings group. You know, he used to go and drink beer with Tolkien and all the other guys down there. Man, I would pay so much money to go and pub those guys.
Fly on the wall.
Oh my God, no more than fly on the wall, man. I'd be there with a pint in my hand, bro. But anyway, so before Lewis rolled, and you got to remember, like, you know, let's put things in its time. He wasn't quite the Richard Dawkins of his time. That would be an exaggeration, but he would have been. He was like the Christopher Hitchens of his time.
Of his time, yeah.
That's how much of a change that was. Anyway, so Lewis is being really cynical. He's talking to Tolkien and he's going, yeah, well, you know, all religions talk about, you know, be kind to your fellow man, blah, blah, blah. Okay, like, what's the, you know, what is the unique selling point of Christianity? Why is Christianity any different from all the other religions that say, you know, be nice to your fellow man? And apparently Tolkien did the double take and got really dismissive and said, forgiveness.
There you go.
That's what we do. And he said, of course, you know, the Jews have the day of Yom Kippur. And, you know, that's obviously, it's a deep part of Judaism too. He wasn't dismissing or denying that.
Yes.
No, we bring this into I'm paraphrasing now, but, you know, we bring this into a higher resolution and make it one of the definitive things about Christianity, because like when you compare yourself, and you think it makes perfect sense, when you compare yourself to the law, like the Jewish law, which is, you know, great and it's a fantastic ethical and moral framework. It doesn't, I'm sure even most atheists that I know would agree with that. But because it's so high, you're never going to reach that. You're always short. By Martia, you're always going to sin. You're never going to. It's just so high. So beat themselves up and kind of go, well, why would you even reach that? I'm never going to do that. I'm just a beer drinking, North Queensland who likes. Why would you even bother? It's like, well, and it links. This also incidentally links back to this idea of we were talking about before, self-definition. And if you've stuffed up, like if you have lied or you've done something stupid and people have gone, dude, you're a liar.
Yeah.
You're a thief. Yes,
you get labelled.
Yes,
So there's another law, Matt. And let me just find.
Roll into it, bro. And talk about these next realms.
Here we go.
I'm sure people have got the point.
Let me give you this one though. To know that you are sacred is not to see new things in you, but to see yourself as you really are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. I mean, you're made in the image of God, and it's that. To understand that and to get that and to live it every day.
Yeah.
So again, but like it's so once you bring these things into resolution, and you go, yeah, of course, absolutely, and that's why people, Judeo-Christianity has the appeal that it has, and religiousness generally, I would say, but specifically Judeo-Christian, because you're talking. I know you said you haven't read Dante's Inferno, but like, mate, you're
all over it. Sounds as if.
Yeah. So,
I'll tell you something interesting, Matt. I mentioned to you via email that about 3 weeks ago, I lost my beautiful mum, who was mid-80s, and she was very. Thank you. And more than interesting, the knowledge that I've now gained from the writing of this book, it was totally profound. So it's like it being integrated into this 60-year-old being. But more important than the knowledge is the experience. So I've lost my beautiful mum, and you feel grief for the loss, but it's not a grief. It's just disabling. It's a joy because it's totally empowering. Yeah, absolutely. You know exactly where she is. I can almost see how she's dressed. God forbid. And I know where to find her in here, and I know that she's there all the time. So one can, the love is the bridge. So she's everywhere.
Not gone.
And
she's just dead. She's dead.
So it's the knowledge and experience of that's really totally empowering. Yeah,
totally. It's like I've got some Protestant friends too. I'm sorry, I'm really enjoying this conversation. So if I'm blabbling, that's all it is.
Oh, good.
So I got a lot of Protestant friends, and they go, you Catholics and the Orthodox, you pray to Mother Mary. And I go, well, we don't really pray to Mary. We pray through Mary. And all these saints, you pray to them. So we don't really pray them, we pray to them. You don't really need an intercessor. You can have a personal relationship with God. It's like, yes, of course you can. I'm not arguing that point. It's like, well, why would you even do that? I just said to him, have you ever asked anyone to pray for you? And he goes, yeah, of course. My pastor, my friends, we sit in prayer groups, we say, pray for me. I go, well, it's the same thing. You go, but they're dead. And I'll go on. Sorry.
Yeah.
You said you're a Christian. Let's have a discussion about that. They may have left this life.
Yes.
Mother Mary is not dead.
Life, it's an eternal life.
And neither are the saints. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And again, but it's to get this. I know it's strange today, Stephen, that today this is a strange conversation. But really, if you even went back, I'd say 3 generations, like this would be normal. And it's great to get on the internet. You hear these old radio conversations of some of the old evangelicals. I don't find them as like coming from a liturgical church. It's cool, but I just don't. I don't find that depth. But these conversations were normal.
Yeah.
All over the media at that time, and most people, like I would suggest that most people who listen to this, because my audience is probably, I'd say 2/3 some sort of belief, but I try very hard to discuss stuff with atheists and materialists, and I've kept quite a few, which I think is great because I get feedback from them.
Mm.
But there's still just going to be a third of the people who just like, we might as well be speaking Swahili. We no longer even really have it. They no longer have the conceptual framework. It's not that science and material, I'm not anti-science.
Mm.
I'm not even anti-materialism. I like Richard Dawkins's books. I like Christopher Hitchens' thought. I like Steven Pinker. I like those guys. Like, you know, it's just that it's kind of limited. You know, they just it's not the full story.
Yes, and that's the curious mind that's open to not set in its ways. It's open to, because I mean the things that I saw and have espoused through the story of the book. I mean it's very confronting. I mean for some that have certain beliefs, and I mean I get that, but I don't think that, Matt, the really interesting thing about what we've gone through with this book, it's told in story form.
Mm.
So unlike if you've gone through an NDE or you read of somebody's NDE experience and you go, oh, far out, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But it's objective. So it's somebody else having had the experience, and you look at it and go, oh yes, I believe that, or I don't believe that, whatever. It's interesting, but through the benefit of story, we're able to subjectively delve into the different levels that the story offers. So you could read the afterlife, literally, and go, oh, that's good, or that's bad, or that's rubbish, or whatever. Look at it at that level. Okay, whatever. You could look at it allegorically through the parables and the fables.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I get that. But at the deeper level, as we've discussed, you're looking at it metaphysically. So what becomes apparent to the reader subjectively are these laws of heaven and earth. You see those isms in there and go, oh, that's pretty cool. However, there's a deeper level that when you read a story like that, or like this, is that it's mystical. So it becomes the aha moment. So you read it and you go, oh man, I get that. So it's a revelation of inner truth. So it becomes a subjective experience that you now know and feel and can experience going forward, rather than having read about somebody else's NDE and they saw God or they saw whatever they saw.
Yeah.
This becomes a personal relationship, a revelation of inner truth for the reader.
There's something, and please, obviously, I'm seeking correction if I'm wrong. That's the thing I kind of like about the way that you're doing this. Like, it's not a traditional NDE. It's like, I saw this and all that kind of stuff, which incidentally, I don't dismiss out of hand. I know that's going to make some of my, that's fine.
All good.
That's fine. That's all good. I didn't say I believe all of them mindlessly either, because them to a truth test, but I don't want to digress too much along this. The truth, as far as I see it, is that you're claiming is, look, I had this experience, and it was an experience of not a flight of imagination. That's really the wrong way of framing. I had this experience, and I'll leave it as an unqualified experience. Here is what I experienced. Take it or leave it. I'm not making any materialist claims to complete and utter fact, but like, this is what I experieed. Take it as you will.
That's exactly right. There's a quote from Athar. And let me see if I can get this right. I am not here to tell you what to believe. I'm here to tell you what is true. So, the way I see it, Matt, is, what was revealed to me was a total gift. Certainly changed my life. But and for me, I'm just a messenger boy.
Yeah.
So I'll put it out there. I'm not shoving it down anybody's throat. Take it as you will. And if you're able to change as a consequence of the reading of the book, you are able to change your life for the better and for the better of those around you. Because ultimately we learned about heaven and what happens, but it's how we translate that to make our life a better place, which is the key. So if a reader of the book is able to do that, if it's in a big way or a small way, job's good. We're right.
Yeah, that's it's one thing to understand something. Well, it's another thing to it's one thing to like an idea, because we all like the idea of certain things. It's another to practice it.
Yeah.
That's where, that's where a lot of us fall short. But I'm interested in this name. There's a lot in the name. Athar. Where did that?
Mate, I've got to tell you something very interesting. We are all designated names that define our purpose in heaven. So, like Stephen in life, what I'll be in heaven if I make it there, I don't know. But we are all designated specific names that define our purpose and where we're going in heaven. But I've got to tell you something interesting. What happened? Remember, I had no characters. I didn't know the next part of the book was. But every time a new character was introduced to me, I'd go, like, what's this person's name? Straight away. I'd get it straight away. And it was just there. I knew. But there was a character there. How would I describe him? Totally in the prime of life, magnificent robes, white, gold, shimmering. And we met up with him 3 times. And every time I asked, what's your name? Didn't get it. Never got it. So in the book, I just had to call this character the Master, because I
am. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, all right. Well, you were touching on the highest realm kind of thing. You want to?
Yeah. Maybe, Matt, before I take you there and what I describe what I saw, there's 2 other places that might be of interest to you and to your listeners. I got taken to a school, and you can remember this is not just this is Greco-Roman type architecture. Mm-hmm. And with the guide, we walk into this school, and even now, as I remember it, I can feel the chills, the chills in my spine. The love that I felt walking into this place was beyond anything, that I've ever experienced. And so we go into this school, and there's like all these rooms, and the beautiful angelic beings are in beautifully coloured robes, and they're nurturing fledgling children. And what I understand was, when children leave the earth plane early, when you lose an infant child, God forbid, every child is taken and nurtured by the Heavenly Father, and the love that surrounded these children was so profound. And what I understand is, even if the relationship between the parent and the child is somewhat fractious, no child is left untended by the love of the Father. So to know that, and I saw it and felt it, and to know, if you the grief you could only imagine of losing a child, but to know that child is so profoundly loved in the heavenly realms, it must be a balm to the grief. It was such a beautiful experience to be part of, just to see it, and I just described what I saw and felt.
Very reassuring, I must say.
Yeah. But to I guess I'm giving away part of the book, but
yeah,
the ending, in fact. But this master takes Athar and his colleague, the bishop, takes, because they're both evolved together by this stage, and it's like going up through the heavenly layers, and he's got them here in embrace, and he's going up through these layers, and he's taking them as far as he possibly can. And then what I saw is they're standing on this like mountaintop, and there's man, I can build the music, the colours, they're like a matrix of these things. And he said, this is like, paraphrase, your playground. This is the matrix. This is where we live. And it was, the music was so beautiful. The colours were so intense. And I'm like sitting there seeing all of this from atop this mountain. But I'm not even sure that I did it justice in the description, but I did the best I could.
Yeah, I mean, we'll try describing a rainbow. You know,
Yeah, hey.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give me the look. Give me the look.
Yeah.
Your Nobel Literature Prize awaits. Should that?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, there are some other places. I mean, if you don't know how much time we've got, but there are other places
keep going.
we've gone to. I'll give you another one, Matt. The abode of reunion. And again, just describe what I saw. So with this guide, and we're standing on a hilltop and looking down upon this plain. And this plain has got all these souls of various robes and colours and things. And to the side, there's the mists of purgatory. And there's these silver cords channeling over the mist, not going through, they're channeling over the mists. And they're attached to some souls. And these souls are in communion with others. So they're standing there like they're talking. And me, with my curious mind, what is this? And the description that was given to me was, this is where souls, when we're asleep, our soul is able to transit into this heavenly realm attached to the silver cord. Because when the cord's severed, that's, the body's done, you're dead. But the souls, when we're asleep, are able to transit to this abode of reunion and meet up with loved ones, perhaps relatives or other souls that are there to help us with any dilemma we have. So love is the bridge. So if we love another deeply, a soul that's passed, we are able to connect with them, communicate with them, if you will, in this heavenly abode. Which, hey, believe it or not, that's just what I saw. But to me, the experience relates personally. So, oftentimes we go to bed with we've got some problem or life issue or something, and it's a dilemma for us. But when we wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning and we go, I've got it, I get it, I remember, this is the answer. I'm pretty sure that's what's happened. So we've gone, the soul transited over to this abode and met up with another that's given us guidance and wisdom and answers.
Wow.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It kind of is. So look, you would have learned a fair bit about, because when we learn about these realms, when we go through these, this experience, and no one. Here's the thing. I mean, I'd imagine myself describing this this interview to an atheist. No one can, I'm not going to argue whether or not Stephen was hovering above Athar and watching them, or he was this visible journeyman along with Athar. I can't say whether or not that's true, but one thing I can say is that he experienced this. Like it was an experience. He experienced, at what level and what that means, I can't say. But what did you learn about yourself through writing this?
Oh, that's a very good question, Matt. I've learned how to live better. Say I'm 66 years old now, I'm grey-haired, and life becomes a relative thing. You don't know how long one has got. So now, to me, having been given these gifts, so it's up to me now to make my life a better place, not just for me, but for those in my immediate surrounds, people that I love, you know, the families and so forth. But as I mentioned before, my renewed sense of purpose, you know, like I was thinking before, I just can start planting tomatoes. No good. Sorry, Jack. Now, you know, this purpose is very fine. It's like having totally motivated, you know, they've got a purpose to fulfill. Believe it or not, whatever the message is, you know, people will and get some brickbats and so forth. That's all okay. I saw what I saw and integrate it now into my life. And it's made life a far better place.
All right. And fundamentally, obviously that message is what you're going to hope that other people will take away from it too. It's like the standard this.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not a judge of that, but all, you know, it's like you offer the gift and you can accept it as you will, integrate it as you must or see fit. It's all good. And if you get a little bit, that's nice. If you get a big bit, that's even nicer.
Absolutely. All right. Well, where and how is your book available?
Matt, the best place, well, we're Cairns people, aren't we? So hard copies available at Cairns Books in Cairns Central and Cairns Crystal Ball in Grafton Street.
Okay.
But other than that, you know, Amazon, all the online distributors have got it now, ebook and paperback. So it's all been formally released. Well, I can get onto my website and order it through that, but probably easier just to do it through Amazon or go to the local bookstores.
Okay, so yeah, Google it and again, tell people what the name of your book is, just to refresh their memories.
The Afterlife: A Journey to. Now you know what will happen.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I getting some great feedback. Jabru, always fantastic to hear from you. Really liked your perspectives. Thank you so much for sharing them. If anyone else has any other comments, queries, anything else they want to add in there, please throw it in. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share. If you haven't already done so, please follow Northern Vibe both on YouTube and on Facebook. Got some more great interviews coming up next week. And again, I can't thank you all enough for your continued support. Without that Northern Vibe just simply wouldn't continue. So see you all next week. Thank you again so much for your participation. Fantastic to see you all.